All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WCSB, the Ray Carr Show. 1:34 is the time, and baby, am I losing by the Baskerville Hounds. And over to my right-hand side is a legend and the leader of the Baskerville Hounds, and a man that knows probably about as much about Cleveland Rock as anybody, Dante Rossi. Dante, welcome.
Thank you, Ray, and I want to thank you for inviting me down here. I appreciate it.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure. We were just off the air talking about Space Rock Part 1 and 2, and you mentioned that it was probably recorded originally back in 1965.
65.
Okay. How did that song start? It's one of the greatest instrumentals of all time, I think.
You know,
did this happen by accident?
Happened by accident. We were in the studio getting ready to do some recording, and we figured we'll warm this up. Warm up with this because we heard a group playing this, and they played it a little on the slower side, and not quite as up. And so we injected a few things, and lo and behold, our manager recorded it. And that was on a Wednesday or a Thursday, whatever it was. But the following Friday, we were playing at this club in Berea. And on our breaks, I take a little short walk over to this little greasy spoon and play some pinball. And right above the pinball machine was a TV. And I'm playing this pinball. All of a sudden, I hear this song. And it was us, Space Rock. It kind of freaked me out. And Goulardi's the one that he broke it for us.
Well, yes, he went off the air in 66, so that would have been around 65, right?
Right.
I just cannot understand how that song did not become a national hit.
Well,
I mean, it just has everything, has all the elements. It's got tempo, it's got excitement, it's got the odd vocal inflections in it.
You know, most groups, when they're first doing a gig at night, sometimes you walk into a club and you're playing there, and you wonder, how can we get this crowd up quick?
Right.
We didn't have to. All we had to do was play Space Rock, and they were out of their chairs from the beginning to the end of the night. So,
what was a typical set for the Baskerville Hounds? I mean, when you would start a night, did you open up with Space Rock, or did you do "Make Me Your Man"? Or?
Well, Space Rock eventually became basically our theme song.
Right.
In other words,
right.
We opened our set just to introduce the band, and we closed it, just play half of it for a break song.
Okay. But what were some of the other standards that you like to play live?
We played a lot of Beatles.
Did you?
A lot of Stones, a lot of British.
And you opened up for the Rolling Stones, too.
Yeah, we did. I have
a picture of you and the Rolling Stones together. My buddy George Shuba took that picture.
Yeah, George has done a lot of photography. He's got a lot of things of our group and a lot of other groups. Groups like, the original group that I was in was called the Grasshoppers back then. And out of that group there came...
We played some by the Grasshoppers. Pink Champagne.
Pink Champagne.
Yeah,
Louis. I mean, not Louis, but...
Benjamin Orr?
Benny Orr was a really good friend of mine, and I had the pleasure of putting him in that band after I left. And I was looking for another group to play with, and somebody told me about this group that was playing down at West Town Lounge. I believe that's what it was, on 25th Street. And I walked in there. It was a 4-piece group. And these guys just blew me away. And I said, hey, you guys, can you use another guitar player? And that was the beginning of the Tulu Babies, actually.
Oh, wow.
Which eventually became the Hounds.
Tulu Babies.
The Tulu Babies. Our manager at that time was a gentleman called Ron Britton. He was one of the top DJs at WHK back then that brought the Beatles in for the first time back in the 60s.
I remember. And
Ron, when he heard this group, he wanted to handle us right away. But there was some kind of a conflict, obviously. And so we lost him as a manager. And we formed another manager, actually.
And you were on Team of Records.
Team of Records, right? That was the name of the record. We were on Dot label. We were on Columbia. I believe Columbia. Oh, no, AFCO Embassy. We've been on a few labels.
Yeah, because I have your album sitting right there, and it was on Dot, yeah. That's an unbelievable album to see the diversity that the band has actually went through. I mean, you're able to play some blues, straight pop, and a lot of original material, so you can do it all.
This group, there was something about this group, the Baskerville Hounds, and I played with a lot of different bands, a lot of different musicians in my lifetime. But there was something about the Baskerville Hounds when we had gotten on stage. Something magical happened. And there's a lot of groups that are that way, a whole lot of groups. We did a lot of cover music. We tried.
You kind of had to, though.
Pardon me?
You kind of had to do some cover songs.
Oh, you had to do covers. So, I mean, that's your profile. You have to. So people can identify. People want to when you're in playing a large venue. People want to hear things that they're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why we did that. But we always tried to inject a lot of our original because the two gentlemen that did our writing in the group. These guys wrote some great stuff. But like a lot of things, when you sign contracts with agents, they basically tell you what they want you to do, which sometimes is good.
Because sometimes you don't know.
But sometimes we don't know. Sometimes, they take you down an avenue that you're not really familiar with. We were a hard rock band. That's really we were hard rock. We were a hard rock.
And you needed
band.
some direction.
We knew what direction we wanted to go to. But sometimes, whether you want to or not, when you are on contract with someone, they tell you what they want to hear. They tell you what...
Okay, they're going to say, hey, Dante, we want to hear this, this, and this. Then you can do a few of your other songs. So
basically.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Because we want to draw in the people that don't know your band. Oh, the Baskerville Hounds did a copy or a cover of I'm a Believer and Penny Lane. And we'll put Space Rock on the album, too. That's kind of how it worked, huh?
Right. It is. Like there was some apprehension on a lot of things that we recorded and a lot of things that were released.
It had to be frustrating, though.
It was. It was very frustrating. Like all groups go through the same stages. Everybody's happy. Then all of a sudden you have some dissension going on with the band. Then you have problems.
Harmony is one of the most difficult things to achieve, especially when everybody has a different vision of what the ultimate outcome should be. Everybody says at the outset they want this, they want to be very successful, but getting to that point, everybody has a different way of doing that. So trying to come together and kind of work together becomes difficult the more the group goes on, I think.
Sure, because everybody has different views, and finding a group to go down the same avenue together, that's a hard thing to do.
You have to be friends and understand the bigger picture.
Exactly. When you're finished playing a gig for the night, you're finished playing the gig. Your bandmates sometimes are not what you call friends. They're your associates. And
yeah. Well, and it's just something you have to deal with.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to play a song now by the Baskerville Hounds. We'll come back and we'll talk to Dante. We'll take some phone calls. Our telephone number is 216-687-3515. Dante, you and I will get into some old Cleveland rock and roll, too. Some other groups that may have been forgotten by time.
Definitely, sure.
All right, we'll be right back in just a moment here.
blue. If you want me to remain romantic, here are all the things you'll have to do.
Thank you. Hold Me, the Baskerville Hounds, Dante Rossi, our very special guest, the straw that stirs the drink. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So tell me about that song, Hold Me. Big song, obviously huge, great song, and that was a catalyst for you to, kind of a launching pad for you to go to other places.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, Ron Britton from WHK, who was actually the first manager who dubbed the group called the Tulu Babies, which was the Baskerville Hounds. The members of the original group were Johnny Kirkpatrick, Larry Meese, Doug McCutcheon, and Bill Emery, and myself. That was the original Tulu Babies, Baskerville Hounds.
Not Saskatchewan?
Not Saskatchewan, which later on a manager wanted to call us Saskatchewan.
Bizarre.
We stuck with the Baskerville Hounds. Ron Britton was the original manager of the band, and he just brought us an album. And it was an album from this British gentleman named P.J. Proby. And P.J. Proby had this song, Hold Me, on it. So we figured, hey, let's learn this. This looks like a good rock song for people to dance to, and we played it. And the manager walked into this club we were playing and heard us play it, and the crowd absolutely went nuts. So we decided, let's record it. And all up and down the East Coast, that song hit #1 in a lot of cities in the area, in the United States.
Very interesting. And you got to meet Bob Hope?
Oh, yeah, we got to meet Bob Hope, which was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And what year would that have been?
That would had to be around 71, 72.
Just after he owned the Cleveland Indians.
Yes. He was originally from Cleveland.
Yes, I do. I remember. He was born in England, though.
Yes. He laid a story on us, which I thought was pretty good, that his first job, he was selling newspapers. And his main station when he was a young kid, it was on East 9th and Euclid. And he would get his papers in the morning and walk all up and down to East 30th, all up and down to sell the papers. And this one particular gentleman came out to buy a paper from him who was dressed in all black coat, black hat. And at that time, the newspapers were 3 cents. So this gentleman handed him a nickel and waited there for his 2 cents change. And he didn't have any change because that was his first customer. So he had to run back to 9th Street to get change from the nickel. And later on, he finds out that the gentleman was standing there waiting for him was John D. Rockefeller.
What?
Now this is the story. This is the story that Bob Hope told us.
Urban legend, yeah.
Urban legend.
Oh my gosh! Now we know how he became a millionaire.
That's where he got the phrase of pinching pennies, man.
Wow, that's amazing. What do you think the biggest show that you did for exposure was? The show that really launched the name of the band, where people really goes, oh my God, we're taking these guys seriously.
Oh God. Well, I remember there's a few gigs. I know the Cleveland Arena. We played there, and I think we were really introduced to the city. Because a lot of people didn't know who we were back then. There was the Beach Boys, the Shangri-Las, Jay and the Americans, a lot of different bands that we knew who they were.
Yeah.
And I believe it was at the Cleveland Arena would be probably one of them. I know in Erie, PA, I could have probably ran for mayor there. Down in Miami, Buffalo, so many cities, like I say, all up and down the East Coast. We were basically more of a regional type group.
Kind of in the same vein as the Choir, in a sense.
Yeah.
But the Baskerville Hounds had a certain je ne sais quoi about them, a certain something that other bands just didn't quite have. You had a little more blues, a little more edge, a little more originality, and it just... you guys were unique unto yourselves.
Ray, it's funny you say that because all the groups like you're mentioning, Cyrus Erie and all the other bands in the area, they always wanted to work with us, and we had a lot of fun back then. That's when to me, it was the birth of really rock and roll here in Cleveland.
Right. Who do you think was the catalyst before you? Did you look to somebody when you were younger, say you were like 11, 12 years old, did you look at somebody like Tom King as an influence, or did you say, no, it was more like an Elvis Presley? Who was your catalyst when you were like 11 and 12?
I got to probably say Johnny Cash.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Sun Records, Johnny Cash.
Cash, Elvis Presley.
Carl Perkins,
Waylon Jennings.
That's going way back.
Yeah.
Buddy Holly's gang, yeah.
Yeah, Buddy Holly. I've always been influenced with country, too. I love country music.
All right.
Good country music.
That's good stuff.
A lot of groups, there was a lot of groups in this town that never had been recognized. And it's
like who? Let's run down a few of those.
Well, let's see.
Dave C. and the Sharp Tones.
Dave C. and the Sharp Tones. There was a good friend of mine, Baki, in the Visions.
Love Baki. Love him.
God, I can't think of them all, Ray.
There's so many. Well, the Outsiders, of course. Tom King and the Starfires.
Yeah, Tom King and the Starfires.
Yeah.
Joey and the Continentals.
Joey and the Continentals.
Joey and the Continentals.
God, the Grasshoppers, as we mentioned before.
The Grasshoppers.
It's amazing. And let's Andrea Carroll.
Andrea Carroll.
Yeah.
The old Gene Carroll show.
Lifeguard.
Did you? I watched it all the time.
I watched it all the time. It's right on Sundays, and then obviously right after that the polka varieties.
With Paul Wilcox, who was a World War II veteran that people didn't realize.
Yes, I just couldn't tear away my music. Was my life. In other words, 23 hours a day. If I could listen to music, I would do it.
Did you ever want to play any particular style of music that you never really got a chance to record? Was there anything that you said, I really like this, but I never really had a chance to record that, or get the right musicians to record it with? Has that ever happened?
Well, in a way, yeah. There was a lot of people ask me, say, like of all the bands of, in the last couple of decades, who would you like to play with? I'd like to AC/DC.
Really?
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Okay.
And there's it's just something about those particular groups that I really like.
Tom Petty, all right.
AC/DC.
Yeah, I never would have thought that, Dante. I would have thought maybe Jeff Beck. I would think maybe Jeff Beck a little bit, perhaps.
Yardbirds.
Maybe Dick Dale. It's hard to say. I mean, not knowing you like I know you now, but you think about these different guitar players, but those are very good too. So it all depends on your, as we grow older, our musical tastes begin to change.
Definitely.
And we start to branch off in different directions, go maybe a little more country, maybe a little more this. But it's interesting, though. If you want to talk to Dante Rossi, our special guest here on the Ray Carr Show, you can call 216-687-3515. We'll take some calls. And we'll take a little break here, folks. We shall return in just a moment here on WCSB Cleveland. All right, folks, here we go. We're back live with Dante Rossi. We're going to take some phone calls right now, which is something I like to do. You're on the air, sir.
Dante, I met you a few times, and one time was when I was about 14 years old, when you used to play a lot of team functions. And outside of them screaming girls, when we used to dance and shake, we were actually stealing your moves, because you didn't do steps like those other bands, And over the years, I took a couple of young musicians. Me and a friend of mine took a couple of young musicians out to Parmatown Mall, where your band was playing about 10 years ago, and you were just as gracious to us when we were teenagers to encourage. I don't know how many people in Cleveland that you encouraged to get into bands. Guys like you and Sonny and Baki, and you know what I mean. People like you just gave us the drive to do it. And the main thing I liked about your band was you didn't do a lot of steps. You played rock and roll, just played it flat out. And it's so good to see that there's bands that are still keeping up the rock and roll tradition.
Well, I appreciate that.
I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Are you in a band now? Are you playing now?
Oh, no. I was a drummer, and I don't have that kind of stamina anymore. I play more with percussion and bells and stuff like that.
What was the name of your band?
Well, I did a couple of projects. We played different stuff. I was in Phoebus. I was in Granite. We had different names for different things.
Well, I'm really, really glad that I was an influence for you, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Well, groups like the Music Explosion, that stuff was playing all up and down the street in our neighborhood, so we had to learn those chords. Everybody was learning that stuff,
Exactly.
I just wanted to tell you, I told you, and you just kind of, you said the same thing to me. You appreciated it, and it's good to know that you can have that kind of, the young people that we took were regular, just plain musicians, and I know that when they saw you, the first thing they thought about, I'm going to try to be a rock and roll person,
That's wonderful. I mean, I feel good about that.
I just wanted to share that with you. I really appreciate that you're around doing it.
Well, what's your name? What's your first name?
It's John McDonough.
My name's John.
John, nice to meet you, John. I hope they see you soon.
Thanks, John.
It was always good to see you. Bye. Bye, Dante.
Bye-bye, John.
John McDonough is an avid listener here to the show, and he's always pushing me to play great old Cleveland stuff, and he's talked about you for years.
Oh, that's great.
He goes, Ray, it's great that you got Jane Seymour on, and it's great that you got Barbara Eden on, but you got to get Dante Rossi on. I go, yeah, I don't know how to get a hold of the guy. I've been trying, I know that you have an establishment in the Cleveland area, but I finally was able to, somebody gave you my card, right?
Right, good friend of ours, mutual friend, Bobby Cass.
Okay. And he told you I played your songs a lot.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And I've always been a huge fan. And I'm glad that we're going to bring a lot of this music to light. It's very important for listeners that have never heard the Baskerville Hounds to hear them because they are part of Cleveland's past, and they are one of the greatest groups ever to come out of this town. We're going to play number 15 off the CD right now. What song is that?
That's called Straight Jacket.
Tell me about that.
That was written by our keyboard player, McCutcheon. And Doug always had a different view of things that we should do. This tune, when he presented this tune, we jumped on it and we put a nice arrangement together. And this is one of the songs that we did down in
Miami?
Miami.
Dante, before we go to that, we have a young lady that is on the telephone line that would like to say something to you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. You're on the air.
Dante?
Yes.
Or AKA Dad?
Which is this my daughter?
It's your youngest.
Hello, darling. How you doing?
I'm good. We're listening to you at work.
Oh, are you? That's great. That's great.
He's an absolute legend.
Yes. So we know he is. We want to know what's your favorite song that the Baskerville Hounds recorded. I don't think in my 44 years I've ever asked you that.
What is my favorite song, honey? There's so many to choose from. The one that one of the favorite tunes that obviously was "Hold Me," and the reason why it was "Hold Me" because all my daughters loved it. And
that's right. I was telling everybody you used to sing it to us.
Yes, and that's probably one of the songs that really I can say. Plus, also, there's another one you probably never heard was "Make Me Your Man."
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
That's one of my
Great
favorites.
song.
In fact, there's a few talk shows that use just the beginning of that tune. I don't know if you know that or not. But anyways, right now, Donnie, they're going to play a song called Straight Jacket. And this is one of the songs that we did down at Criteria Studios back in 1972. And this was, I think, one out of the 6 songs that we recorded down there.
Okay.
So, I'm glad you called, honey.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, thank you very much. Love you, Dad.
Love you too. See ya.
Okay.
All right, let's we'll spin Straight Jacket right now. Baskerville Hounds.
When your nightmare has no wing, just a daydream filled with fear. Then you see the walls around you. See you've been a prisoner here for years. 'cause you're the hurting kind. Always messing around, out doing it down with some other guy. All I do while you out having fun is sit and cry. Feel so bad 'cause you're making me sad. I have to leave 'cause I just can't stand the grief. But I don't want you 'cause you're the hurting kind. Can't stay any longer. Instead of going away, my love for you is growing stronger. Can't take it anymore, I'm walking out the door. I just can't stand this pain, it's driving me insane. Because you're the hurting kind.
That's a song called "The Hurtin' Kind," the Baskerville Hounds. Dante Rossi, our special guest. Dante, how you doing?
Good.
Good, buddy. Tell me about that song.
That was written by McCutcheon, and that song was a pretty big hit regionally, and it's synonymous with us.
Okay, it's a staple.
It is a staple. There's
Okay.
no doubt about
Gotcha.
it.
Great song. We played a lot of great music from the Baskerville Hounds, and let's run down the lineup one more time for those, just for memory's sake, so people don't forget who these guys were.
The group, obviously, our lead guitar player was Larry Meese, keyboard player was Doug McCutcheon, the original drummer Johnny Kirkpatrick. We send a prayer out to him and his family and our condolences because we just lost him last week.
I'm sorry.
And the drummer that we have now that works with the band, a great guy, he's been with us for quite a while, is Michael Macron, and the original bass player is Bill Emery. That's the Baskerville Hounds.
And then there's you.
And then there's me. Then there's me.
Dante, will there be any more recording? Have you thought about going back in the studio and doing some new material with the band in the near future or not?
Well, we've always on the back of our mind to do some more recording. And right now we're trying to work together to see if we can pull ourselves back together to do a few gigs here and there.
Okay.
And,
but when you do, you'll let us know.
Well, you know it.
And I'll broadcast it on the radio.
Oh, that'd be great.
I will be there. I want to be part of that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, if you come in and bring the guys and play.
Definitely.
Yeah.
At some point, we'll see if we can arrange that. But I'd love to see you guys go out and play live because I
Yes.
think a lot of people need to hear you.
Appreciate that. Well, we just that's no matter how many years go by, music has always been our number one love.
That's great. Now let me leave we'll leave the interview with this song here. This is number 16 on the CD. Tell me a little bit about this song.
This is Sweet September.
Okay.
Okay, that's one of the ones that we did in I believe it was 1999. Yeah, 1999. It was the latest CD that we did.
Thank you, Dante.
Sweet September.
Old ladies, old man is loaded.
We actually played a song called Shotgun Blues.
Yes, it wasn't Sweet September.
That's okay. Good song. I really enjoyed that song.
Thank you.
So, after the world of music, you also were involved in some other endeavors.
Cutting hair.
Okay, you're a hairstylist or a barber? Or?
Barber. Yes, it was my father that actually talked me into it because I loved music so much, and he told me, he said, Dante, don't ever stop playing your guitar, don't ever stop singing because you're good at what you do. He said, but music, it's a tough business. He says, why don't you cut hair? This way you can play music at night.
And talk to people.
And talk to people. And it is, I'll tell you, being a barber, for me, has been gratifying. I get to meet so many terrific lines of people in all different walks of life. And my clients have been very supportive of me. Bobby, I couldn't ask for a greater clientele.
Where are you located?
I'm in Parma Heights, 6287 on Pearl Road. And if you'd like to get your hair cut from me, it's strictly by appointments.
You can do that.
And the phone number is 440-884-4466.
Thank you, Dante.
And to my wife, Maria, honey, I'm on my way home, so get that spaghetti rolling. And thank you, Ray, for inviting me here.
You're a good man, Dante.
I appreciate it.
Spoken like a true Italian.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, folks. And thanks to Dante Rossi, great man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray.